Trade tariff. What can you do with the trade tariff? Look up commodity codes, duty and VAT rates. What are commodity codes? Commodity codes are codes made up of numbers. These numerical codes define goods when making a customs declaration, most often for business purposes. We see commodity codes classify goods for import and export, allowing you to fill in declarations and other paperwork. Check if there's duty or VAT to pay. Find out about duty reliefs. We will look at the structure of commodity codes very shortly. Duty. Duty is another term for a charge that you pay to the customs authorities. If you either import or export goods, you may have to pay this charge. We refer to duties throughout this series of videos, and we even briefly compare duties to other type of taxes and goods charges, but that will be for later on. For now, keep in mind that although the standard rate of duty is fixed, there are other measures that can be applied to an import or export that can adjust the standard set rate of duty to a lower or higher level. And we also see this after commodity codes. Value-added tax. VAT is a tax on consuming goods. VAT can be set to 0.00% on a lot of goods passing through customs, and when this is done, it helps to speed up paperwork expected from importers and exporters, and also makes cash flow easier to manage, as traders don't have to declare, pay, or reclaim VAT. How does that work? Well, VAT is also an indirect tax, meaning that only the end consumer of goods, most often the general public, is ultimately expected to pay the VAT charge for goods that qualify for VAT. If we take imported goods as an example, any seller that sells those imported goods to the final consumer of those products has to ensure that, where applicable, the price of those goods includes VAT. They also have to do the paperwork in order to pay the VAT portion of their sales to the tax authorities. However, before we get to that stage, the importers of those goods theoretically neither profit or lose money from VAT, as they can reclaim any VAT that they have paid, as they are not the final consumer of those goods. Having said that, if importers are not charged VAT, then they do not then have to reclaim it, saving a lot of paperwork and improving their cash flow situation. We will look at a definition of VAT. We will explore the EU online VAT systems. I also point out where to sign up for the HMRC online VAT system, and get information and help with VAT at HMRC. All this is done later in these series of videos. What about commodity codes, duty, VAT rates, and Brexit? Good question. I can only imagine that the structure of commodity codes will remain largely unchanged, as importing and exporting goods would be easier and less burdensome if all countries were singing from the same hymn sheet with respect to commodity codes. As far as VAT and duty are concerned, the most popular option, by far, is for the UK to reach a deal with the EU that continues to keep VAT and duty set at 0.00% for the bulk of goods traded with the EU. One of the main worries is that a no-deal Brexit will result in increased charges for duty on both imports and exports, as well as an increase in the cost for doing business for a lot of smaller firms. As a result of a no-deal Brexit, small traders are also unlikely to be pleased at the prospect of extra admin and paperwork needed to declare, pay and reclaim standard VAT charges, as well as other indirect charges. However, I'm sure that the government is working hard to ensure trading can be carried out as seamlessly as possible, post a no-deal Brexit. One avenue would be by completing as many trade agreements as possible with other countries, in order to mitigate any negative effects of a no-deal Brexit. I should imagine that any long-term view for the UK government would also include strategies aimed at signing a new trade agreement with the European Union. We'll say more on new trade agreements with the EU and other countries later. So, for now, just remember that you can find commodity codes, duty and VAT, for a great many products that you might want to import or export by using the trade tariff tool.